Hello, project managers. Welcome to this week's episode of My Project Hell. I'm Kelly Schockler, and our goal today, just like it is every time Paul and I get together for My Project Hell, is to use 20 minutes to bring you a relevant topic, share some practical advice with you, and not get too bogged down in that corporate jargon. Still bringing you some useful solutions that you can apply to wherever you're at in your project management journey.
And I'm Paul Thompson. And in this episode, we're taking a deep dive into one hot topic and really explore some of the nuances for project managers. Throughout this, we encourage you join the conversation by using the chat and share your thoughts with everyone else who's along here for the episode. And then, of course, if we have time at the end, we'll get to a little Q&A. But now that we've got everybody, on the edge of their seat, Kelly, where are we going today on our deep dive?
Well, I just want to start out by sharing with our listeners. You may have noticed Paul and I have been doing a lot of hot topic deep dives these past few months. And the reason for that is that over the past, Paul, a couple of years almost here, that we've been doing My Project Hell, we've received some great feedback from our listening audience telling us that they enjoy this format. So we're not getting rid of Coach's Corner, in case some of you are concerned about that, but we've shifted toward bringing you the latest hot topics that we're hearing about, seeing in our own project management travels as consultants and business owners and employers. So today, Paul and I want to share one of our favorite topics with you. It's an area that we see deep angst and frustration in the folks that we interact with, those who are surfing the project management job market, interviewing hell. So today, why are we talking about this now? Well, you may have heard job market's cooling off, right? Companies are starting to trim down. That big Jobapalooza we all have seen in the past year and a half, where we had all these possibilities, right, Paul? I mean, it felt like the world was everyone's oyster. Multiple offers or opportunities to consider and some leverage as a new hire. It's starting to disappear a little bit, starting to evaporate. So now that said, we want you to be encouraged because in the 2021 Project Management Institute Talent Gap Report on project management, they're estimating that employment demands for skilled project management oriented workers is remaining really high. They're estimating 2.3 million people globally are going to be needed to enter into this space on an annual basis just to keep up with demand. Okay, so good news, but you still are going to need to show up, articulate your skills and experience, and stick your interview to get hired. Probably a little harder work than it has been this last year and a half. So the flip side of this job market shift and the trend is we've got the human side of interviewing to consider, preparing and practicing how to present ourselves, articulate our value while managing that inner critic and that second guessing stuff that we like to do. So Paul,
that's right.
Bring us in, usher us into this topic today.
So how I'd like us to kind of break this down is into three parts, right? We're going to talk about what the hiring managers are looking for these days. I've been doing a lot of hiring lately, and I want to give you kind of that perspective. We also then want to take the next step and go and look at it from the candidate's perspective. And how do you represent yourself well during an interview? Finally, though, we want you to look at how do you think about the company you're looking for, right? And kind of get underneath the hood to see really what's going on and separate myth from reality about this job you're interviewing for. So that's how Kelly and I are going to talk about it today. And Kelly, where do we start with that hiring manager's perspective?
Okay, yeah. So something I think that, what is a hiring manager even looking for? And it can be a mystery, right? And it trips us up, trips candidates up before we even start the interview. We're reading the job description, like, well, I have to have this, I have to have that, but I don't have this and that. But here's the thing, like everything in life, there's a spectrum of what hiring managers' wants and needs are. Some want the unicorn specialist.
Unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah, they want, the sparkle, the specific skills in a specific area. And then there's the other end where they do not know what they want at all, which leads to the trickiest of interview experiences. Another thing to think about. But the main thing is generally, I think at the core, hiring managers want someone who they believe can do the job, even if they need to learn some skills along the way, right?
Mhm.
Someone who's got that basic skill set and they've got potential. So whether your interviewing hiring manager has a good grasp on what they want and need or what they're looking for, you're going to be able, regardless, to be able to articulate examples from your past roles where you can demonstrate your ability to pivot, where you've jumped in, or where you were pulled in unexpectedly into a project or a work effort where you didn't know exactly how you were going to do it. You didn't know the how, but you, along with your support network, figured it out. Those are the examples you need to have tightly constructed before you go into your interview. And for the hiring manager who doesn't know what they want, you got to know how to lead them there, right, Paul?
That's right. That's right. And Kelly, you kind of pointed it out, right? Interviews are all over the map. And even the interviews I've been doing, we have a list of requirements and those are published. And you get outside of there, though, here's where I want to give some insight. So we typically bring in coordinators, project managers, and senior project program managers. So for the coordinators, aside from whatever it says on the job specific rec, I'm looking for someone that's showing me self-confidence, right? An ability to learn. I get that coordinators are starting out typically in their career or making a career shift, but I want to see how they show me I'm able to learn and quickly pick up things. And as well be able to follow direction, right? But still take ownership of that task. Because at a coordinator level, we're looking to bring somebody on who still needs guidance, still needs support. But we want to know that when they get the task or they get the assignment, they're at least taking ownership to take it all the way through. When you had a quick.
Oh, I was just thinking you might be going here, but what are you looking for when you're interviewing seniors?
So
Senior people.
at the senior level, it's completely the opposite, right? we aren't expecting to have to guide and show, right? So that's where we're looking for folks that already have the skill sets and everything to manage projects, but that can manage up. I hear a lot of when I interview, a lot of the senior people tell me, oh, I like to mentor people. I like to raise the team up. That's sort of a given at that level, right? That's kind of one of the requirements you have at that level. So I need someone, though, who can delegate those things effectively, but still manage up. And by that, I mean, you can talk to the senior customer leadership, and that's typically for us, the CIO, CTOs of an organization, and provide them with guidance, direction, and help them set goals in a way that they think it's their idea and that they're taking it and internalizing the project, right? And it's hard. It's a lot like moving a big black rock up the hill. It's heavy and it just keeps getting hotter. So there's definitely a skill, and we sort of look for that from our senior people. Kind of at that mid-level, though, just the project managers, I'll tell you one of the key things we do look for. Can you identify risk and then manage it, right? Above all, if you can do that from our perspective and you've got grasp on the rest of the processes, you're going to be probably a few steps ahead of other folks for us. We do expect that multiple, project management processes, at least at a high level. But what we want you to show us you're focused on is the end results, right? Not just ceremony for ceremony's sake, or yeah, I can build this deliverable, but can you manage what it's really built for? So those are sort of the things that we're looking for at that level, and how you anticipate what your customer, what your project owner is going to need, right? Because good solid project managers, they've done this before, not their first rodeo. So they are the lead, and they need to anticipate what their project owners are going to need. So those are the things we look for.
Well, so to your point though, you as my hiring manager interviewer are not going to know these things. I mean, you can see it on my resume possibly, but me as the interviewee, as the candidate, is going to need to be able to articulate those ideas and those results and outcomes. And this is a big area, a big miss for a lot of candidates in the interview process, not being able to do this. And this is where I want to bring up our competency assessment tool that
Right.
Paul and I created. You can download that off of our myprojecthell.com website. This is a great tool to figure out where you are at in your project management competencies, where you might want to start focusing your training and learning efforts for professional development. And you can even use it to get started on articulating your experience and skills and translate those into project management terminology. It'll help you with your interview process, actually. So, Paul, you mentioned you've been doing a lot of interviewing recently. So let's kind of move on to that next area of, what does competence look like? How is that conveyed
Right.
by a
How does the
candidate?
candidate represent themselves well?
Yeah, what are some of the qualities you're seeing in how they're presenting themselves and communicating their competence and their potential even?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of all over the map, right? And that was one of the reasons self-confidence is kind of important to us, because you do need to take charge of your own career. The things that we've sort of seen that really show us that, a candidate is prepped and ready, go read the website.
Oh, yeah.
The company you are interviewing with has basically vomited up everything they know about themselves onto their website. And if you read that, understand it, and can speak back to it, that puts you miles ahead, not just from understanding them, but also letting the interviewer know you care enough about this interview to do a little research, right? And do that. That also goes for the interviewer, right? You should be, as a candidate, finding, once you get that interviewer's name, how are they connected to you through LinkedIn? Are they somehow third, second to your network? Find out about them. Look at their resume, because they're holding your resume. You probably should know as much information about them as you can. So
Yeah, I just want to interject something on that. This is so important to look for those connections, because you can use those network in to find out critical information about the scenario, an organization that you're going to be interviewing in. And we can't say enough about taking a look at those connections in your LinkedIn network.
right. Might find out that, it's the third cousin of your brother-in-law's, and they just got back from a vacation, right? What do they like? What do they dislike? Did they mention anything about this job that's open? Yeah, absolutely. One of the other things that, I am going to beat this dead horse, is that confidence in yourself. A lot of times, if people get nervous in an interview, they start rambling on, they start hemming and hawing. Be confident in yourself and be calm. If you don't know the answer, that's okay, right? Being honest with me as the interviewer and saying, I really don't have that experience, that specific experience, but I do have this that might apply to it. Let me tell you a little bit about that. That immediately shows me, one, you're honest, you're forthright, you're comfortable in your skin, and you recognize kind of what I'm looking for. And although you don't have specifics, you're ready to help me see that in you. So kind of keep that presentation of yourself, always that face forward and put your best foot forward.
Yeah, stressful experience interviewing, right? No
It can
doubts.
be.
I haven't met anyone who has not been stressed out by an interview, no matter how much confidence they have. We can get into that overthinking. During the interview, we're overthinking whether did I say the right thing? Then you become unfocused in the conversation and you just kind of go into this, I kind of call them mind F tapes in the background playing. And then you kind of lose your path. But if you do your preparation up front, where you're thoughtful and deliberate about how you're going to approach the interview process, that's critical. Doing that research that Paul mentioned, practicing with someone, practicing hard questions, that's really the key to presenting yourself well. Figuring out how to recover when you said something that probably you wish you hadn't. Knowing how to
We've all done it.
backtrack on that. There's elegant ways to do that, right? And it doesn't have to take a lot of words or anything to practice how to do that. And let's remember, Paul, it's a two-way street.
Right. Absolutely.
So many candidates forget about that, either out of desperation or in an effort to be liked and to meet the perceived expectations of the interview at any cost. So, my next question is to go kind of in this third area that we've been wanting to tackle today, how to approach getting underneath the hood of a potential employer organization and find out what the organization is really, what's going on there, what's going on with the teams. How can we assess, is this a good fit for me? And, what are some of the questions we need to be asking them?
Well, first of all, you've done your research, right? Reputations of an organization are usually not that wrong, right? There's giant online retailer close by that, their reputation is they pay well, and they do. And 50 to 60 hour work weeks are what they demand. So if you're hearing high salary, but I'm 40 hours is what everybody wants. No, you need to understand what you're getting into. And you can ask about it, right? But Kelly, don't ask just a yes or no question. Make sure it's open-ended and allows the interviewer to kind of expand on their thoughts, and you can listen to kind of those subtle nuances underneath, right? Are they kind of hemming and hawing around areas that might concern you that you want to dig into a little more, right? You flip the tables and now you're the interviewer and asking a question that's going to allow you as the candidate to really hear all about their dirty laundry is really what you're after.
Yeah, it makes me sad when I see people willing to compromise their core values, either because they don't know them. So you don't know what you don't know, but know your core values, people. Very important, because then how are you going to know if this place is a fit for you if you don't know what's important to you, right? But we're sometimes willing to just compromise our core values just to get the role, even if it's not a good fit, compromise our well-being or what we're really after. So I think one way to keep yourself honest and sober about whether or not a role is a good or bad fit is ask the deep questions. Questions that are going to help you unearth what is the true state of the union in the company. So come up with those questions ahead of time, the questions that you're going to be able to listen and glean information that's maybe even not being said. So, okay, there's bad questions and good questions, right, Paul?
Right.
So a bad question, you're focusing, it's about you. It's all about you. Or the cliche questions, what do you like about working here? Or yes, no questions, you're not going to get much from those.
Right.
The good questions, they're open-ended. It lets the interviewer fill in the blanks. It's focused on them, the organization, and you'll start hearing these subtle nuances and when you are truly listening to what they're saying, right?
Right. That's right. And think about the words they use, right? If somebody's telling you, we're looking for this to be a transformational set of projects, we're looking for, a turnaround, right? Dig into that. What does that mean? Does that mean that they've got huge technical debt and they're way behind? And the reason is because they've never been able to successfully do these projects before? Or are they trying to boil the ocean with this? And is it going to turn into, a death march? Those are the words and the little nuances that you can listen for, right? Those are the types of things to be doing. Because if it sounds too good, it probably is, right? I mean, unicorn and rainbows and Lucky Charms just don't exist out in the corporate world.
Lucky Charms do.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, questions like, tell me about your executive team and the communication style. How has that executive team changed since you've been here?
Right.
Wow. Ask that at in the different levels of interviews that you go through, and you're going to get a lot of different
Different answers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, I know we're almost out of time, but that I really want to touch on. The interview is about, as a candidate, you're fighting for the right to say no. So anywhere along that path that you start bailing, like, you have a bad interview and like, oh, I really don't want it, or, oh, it sounds like this is going to be a hard place to work. I'm not that interested. I'll be honest, in my mind, that's sort of sour grapes, kind of putting up some protection because you don't want to get rejected. The goal of every interview should be to fight as hard as you can to, at the end, when they offer you the job, then you can say no. That gives you a lot of power at the end to negotiate if you do want it, but it also gives you a tremendous amount of practice. So when you do find a job you really want, it's not your first interview, or it's not the first time you've made it to the third interview, right? You've gone through this a couple of dozen times, and this is old hat, just like anything we do. Practice, practice, practice. But you got to fight for that right to say no.
I like that perspective. Thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground. Basic takeaway, as Paul likes to say, know thyself and to thine own self be true. Nobody wants to hire your facade. They want you, the real deal. And yet so many times hiring managers are hiring facades. They're not getting what they wanted because during the interview, the candidate just masks their true self. And then they land the role and they get in there and they can't do it and they end up losing the role. You've seen that, right? Second, learn the art of staying on point. If you're asked a question, make sure you're directly answering that question with solid examples, solid outcomes, keep it uncomplicated, connect the dots, articulate how awesome you are, translate your work experience. This is something you've got to practice, right? So grab a friend, practice. It's the only way you're going to get good at it.
That's right. That's right.
All right. I think we pushed up against our time limit here, Paul.
We really have. So, I want to thank everybody for showing up. It's been great. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, because Kelly and I really do enjoy putting this on for you and sharing our thoughts and helping everybody. You can catch the replays of all our episodes on our YouTube channel. And you can also check out our website for more information on how to connect with Kelly or I, and grab a half-hour consultation if you want to talk more in depth about any specific question or interview help.
And we'll be back in a couple weeks with something different, a just-in-time topic for you, or maybe Coach's Corner. We'll see what pops up for us. But thanks for being here. For those who are on with us live, there's a survey that's going to come up when you close out a Zoom. Please take a few minutes to fill that out for us. We appreciate you being here. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you all.